The January 6th Select House Committee is engaged in an urgent battle to get the facts, fighting former President Donald Trump and his allies every step of the way. Just this week, they set their sights on getting testimony from former Vice President Mike Pence, as well as Fox host Sean Hannity. Joining us now to discuss the leaders of the House Select Committee investigating the attack on the Capitol, Chairman Benny Thompson, he's a Democrat, and Vice Chair Liz Cheney. She is, of course, a Republican. And Vice Chair Cheney, I want to start with you because there was a very memorable moment, or at least an image I saw. Your father, former Vice President Dick Cheney, joined you here at the Capitol. You were the only Republicans I saw in that chamber during the moment of silence. Tell me about the importance of him being there with you. Obviously, as former Vice President, he was President of the Senate at one point, but obviously there was more than that.
Well, he has such tremendous love for the institution of the House, and obviously it's something that we've shared. And he's also been so troubled watching what's unfolded, certainly watching the attack last year. And he really wanted to be here today. He wanted to be here to pay his respects. He wanted to be here to commemorate the grave nature of what happened. And really to help to remind people of the ongoing threat.
Chairman Thompson, you were in the House chamber when the attack took place. How does that experience guide your leadership of the committee?
Well, there's no question, Jake, that we have to get it right. Never in my wildest dreams as a member of Congress would I have envisioned our Capitol being under attack. For any reason. We're the citadel of democracy. And so that day was very troubling for me. It continues to cause me concern because Liz and I and the other members of the committee, we have to get this work right. It's our democracy that's at risk more than anything else. It's not about Democrat or Republican.
And yet you were the only House Republican in the chamber this morning during the moment of silence. I know Congressman Kinzinger would have been there, but he's on baby standby in the Chicago area. He says he would have been there. This has not been easy for you as a Republican, a very conservative Republican, more conservative than all the House Republican leaders, according to voting records. What was the moment, if there was one, when you said, I just have to do what's right, and I don't care about the politics?
Well, I think it really, began watching President Trump in the aftermath of the election last year, in 2020, and the extent to which, after he had exhausted all of his legal challenges, he ignored the rulings of the courts and continued beyond December 14th. And of course, because of the work that we're doing on the committee now, we know the extent to which he was working to pressure the Justice Department, to pressure state officials. And then, of course, January 6th itself was a line you just can't cross. And so leading on from that, I think that there's never been a situation where you've had a president engaged in a more serious violation of his oath of office, of his duty to the Constitution. And to me, that's just very clear that the security of the republic depends upon, as the chairman said, we have to get this right, and we have to put this above politics.
But as you note, so many of your colleagues were part of the problem. Not a majority of your colleagues necessarily, well, depending on how you look at the votes or signing on to that amicus brief from Texas. But on January 6th, when Congressman Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio, who may well go on to become the next chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, maybe even Speaker someday, he tried to help you to safety, not that you needed it, but you smacked his hand away and you said, quote, "Get away from me, you effing did this," except you didn't say F. Some of your fellow Republicans are out there, probably right now on a certain other channel, saying this was no big deal, we're making too big a deal out of this. Ted Cruz said that this special tonight, it was just political theater. What do you say to them?
I say that's how democracies die. That if you have members of political parties who ignore an attack, and we've never before been in a situation where the president himself provoked a violent assault on this Capitol building. And when you sit here in Statuary Hall tonight and you realize the history of this place and you realize how sacred this place is, any American who would enable or look the other way or dismiss what happened or refuse to do their duty to get to the bottom of it, I think is failing to live up to their oath of office and to their duties as a citizen of this great nation.
You, Vice Chair Cheney, said this morning you look forward to Vice President Pence's cooperation with the committee. We know that a number of people in his inner circle are cooperating, and they would not be doing that, one thinks, if Pence had not signed off on it. You mentioned before the mob shouting, "Hang Mike Pence," the demonization of Pence by Donald Trump. When you say that you look forward to Pence cooperating, is that wishful thinking, or is he committed to cooperating?
Look, I think that the committee is going to continue to work with a number of people, including the vice president. He clearly was someone who was responsible for the fact that our institutions held. Right where this stage is, early on the morning of the 7th, I had the chance to thank him for what he had done that day, to thank him for not succumbing to the pressure that President Trump was putting on him, the efforts to intimidate him. And so I think he played a hugely important, consequential role that day in making sure that we were able to carry out our constitutional duties. And I'm confident that he wants the American people to know the truth, to know what happened that day. And I'm confident that he's a patriot. He loves this country, and he'll want to make sure that this committee is successful.
You have said that another Donald Trump presidency could be the end of our democracy. I don't need to tell you that he's the front runner for the presidential nomination for your party for 2024 if he runs. What would it say about the Republican Party? What would it say about the United States if Donald Trump is the Republican nominee for president again in 2024?
Look, what we saw him do after the election, what we saw him do on the 6th, are absolutely disqualifying. And when you think about the trust that we put as Americans into the hands of our president, and you think about the inscription that's over the fireplace in the dining room in the White House, which is a John Adams letter to Abigail Adams. And he said, "May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof." And I think that's really important when you have somebody who has demonstrated his lack of fidelity to the Constitution, someone who's at war with the rule of law. You cannot entrust that person with the power of the presidency ever again. And I think it's critically important for the Republic that he not be anywhere close to the Oval Office ever again.
Chairman Thompson, what do you think? Because it looks like he's going to run again, and if he runs again, polls favor him winning the Republican presidential nomination, and it looks like the Republican Party is deferential to him.
Well, that's unfortunate. Being a bully, being someone who's not known to tell the truth, should not be a qualifying asset to become president of the United States. That tells you that as a country, we have moved beyond the norm when a Donald Trump get elected president and is the leading contender of his party to run again. So I agree with my vice chair that we should have better people running for office. Donald Trump would not be one of those individuals. He's demonstrated every day that he is not the quality of person who should be president of the United States.
All three of us are old enough to remember when chairs and vice chairs of committees regularly behaved like this when it came to important issues, whatever the committee. So thank you for both of you for what you're doing for this important work to get to the bottom of what happened when our, not just members of Congress, but our democracy was attacked.